With the recent addition of One Punch Man to Fortnite, I decided to go back in time and revisit and rank every anime mythic in Fortnite history. Although not a mythic, the One Punch Man medallion, which makes your pickaxe one-shot, will be included on the list. I have never watched any anime other than the Pokemon anime growing up, so there will be no bias on the list. With all that out of the way, let's get into the ranking. In my opinion, the worst anime collaboration mythic in Fortnite history is easily the Paper Bomb Kunai from the Naruto collab. This would work very similar to a clinger where you would throw it and it'd wait a little bit and then it would explode. You could hold 6 at a time and it would do 35 damage on explosion, which really isn't a lot. This mythic was introduced in Chapter 2 Season 8 and was the first anime mythic in Fortnite history. Unlike some mythics on this list, this weapon has never returned to the game since it has been vaulted. And I do think this being the first anime mythic really affects its ranking, just because over time we've gotten so many better mythics, and I've never seen Naruto, but I'm sure they could have done better than this Paper Kunai. But beating it out by one spot, we have the Thunder Spears, which was a part of the Attack on Titan collab in Chapter 4 Season 2. Now, these actually got buffed in their lifespan. They used to do 70 explosive damage, but they actually got buffed near the end of the season to do 100 explosive damage. It basically does the same thing that the boom sniper rifle does, where you stick an explosive on them and then wait a couple of seconds and it will explode. But still, with a DPS of only 75, I can't put it any higher on the list. These aren't really that good, unless you combine it with the ODM gear, in which you can stay up in the air for a little bit while you fire them. In that case, it can be somewhat useful. Next up, we probably have the most overshadowed mythic on the list, and that's the Straw Doll technique, which was introduced with the JJK Jujutsu Kaisen collab. Now, unlike the past two items, this could only be found in the Cursed Llama that would roam around the map, and you would have to defeat them to get both the Straw Doll technique and the Hollow Purple, which will be on the list later. It works very similar to the Thunder Spears, where if you hit someone with it, it'll do a little bit of damage, and then when you wait, it'll deal a lot of damage. It does 20 damage on impact and 50 on detonation, which is actually worse than the Thunder Spear, but you gotta remember that's per little nail you fire. Not to mention, these have quite a bit of range, so I do think they deserve to go higher than the Thunder Spears. After that, we have the Nimbus Cloud, which was introduced with the Dragon Ball Z collab in Chapter 3 Season 3. This was a mobility-only item, and it worked very similar to Silver Surfer's surfboard from Chapter 2 Season 4, the Marvel season, except I don't think you could Thunder Pump with this one. But if you take off the Thunder Pump ability, this actually has a 20-second cooldown, which is less than Silver Surfer's board's 30-second cooldown. Also, it has the words Kin Tune at the end of it, so if someone can explain to me what that means in the comments, I would greatly appreciate it. After that, we have the newest mythic kind of on the list, with Saitama's medallion, which basically makes your pickaxe one-shot. It does 250 damage up front, and it is insanely overpowered. I play a lot of Fortnite, and I'm recording this the day after the whole Power Week, where everyone got Saitama's medallion to start it, and I probably got 350 kills with this thing. It is super good, and if you combine it with some of the boons in Blitz, it is really good. But it really is just your pickaxe, and the only reason it doesn't go higher was because, especially in a mode like Blitz, where you can get 200 pumped by pretty much any shotgun, you really put yourself at risk using this. Next up, we have Todoroki's Ice Wall, which was introduced in Chapter 4 Season 4 with the My Hero Academia collab. I myself am a builds player pretty much only. I don't really play much Zero Build, but if you do play Zero Build exclusively, this might be your favorite anime mythic of all time. It gives you insane cover, and that is really useful, especially in Zero Build. Especially considering it only has a 12-second cooldown, that is insanely good for Zero Build. It also throws people backwards as a shockwave effect, but they will take fall damage from it. You're going to see that in the gameplay here of launching people off roofs in Mega City. That can be used offensively as well, but you're mainly going to be using this for cover in Zero Build. When this was in the game, Porta Bunkers pretty much became obsolete, because this was so dominant. You could take any of these next three mythics and switch them around any way you want, but at number 4, I'm putting the Kamehameha. Just know I butchered that so bad. This mythic does 100 damage on impact and 40 continuous damage if they stay in that kind of beam that you throw out. But to balance that out, you only get 3 charges, and those charges don't regenerate unlike something like the Straw Doll Technique or Thunder Spears. You get 3 charges, and that's it. This Mythic recently came to Blitz again, and I remember this being so much better than it was. I couldn't manage to get a kill with this at all. And you're really going to notice that for these next couple of Mythics. Big damage, long charge up time, and only 3 uses. That's how they do a lot of these power anime Mythics. I also feel like you're the most vulnerable with this one than the other 3. Take almost everything I said about the Kamehameha and apply it to the Hollow Purple from the Jujutsu Kaisen collab. This Mythic's charge up time to actually shoot the big ball you throw is actually shorter than the Kamehameha, but it doesn't do as much damage as the Kamehameha. You can also move around while you're kind of doing the hand motion to actually fire the big ball out, which is another thing that differs from the previous Mythic. It also does 100 damage on impact, but it'll do 10 continuous damage if your opponent continues to stand in the kind of tornado that it forms. It really just comes down to personal preference, and I really just prefer the Hollow Purple because you can move around while you're kind of sending it out. But at number 2, which in my opinion trumps both the Kamehameha and the Hollow Purple, is Deku Smash. If you do this right in someone's face, you're looking at 150 damage on impact, just like that. But if you are a little farther away, you'll do 100. But that's not including the shockwave it sends out. It sends out a shockwave after the actual firing animation that also does 100 damage. So if you hit someone directly, you're looking at 250 damage instantly, pretty much. It also does 5,000 structure damage and only has a 15-second cooldown compared to the Hollow Purple's 20-second cooldown. However, this can only be found in the My Hero Academia supply drops and vending machines, but its stats across the board are insane. But let's be real with ourselves here. You of course had to expect ODM gear to be up here from the Attack on Titan collab in Chapter 4, Season 2. This is basically the Spider-Man Mythic, but better across the board, and you can deal damage with it instead of just using it for mobility. This might be the best mobility item we have ever seen in the game, and I'm not saying that just to say it, it is super good. Unlike the Spider-Man web shooters, though, this has durability, meaning you can grapple a total of 80 times like the Spider-Man web shooters, but you can only deal damage about 16 times. However, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember the ODM gear being fairly easy to find, meaning you could get a new one pretty much whenever you wanted. But compared to the other Mythics, this just has to go in first place. But what do you think? Do you think my takes are good? Do you like my placements? Is there anything I missed? I don't think so. I did my research, and I think my takes are valid across the board. If you like videos like this, please consider subscribing. God loves you, and peace.